Hey, Steve Noble, Noble Moto. Got a quick video for you today. I get asked a lot about toolkits. What do you carry with you? How much stuff do you bring? How much of repair do you expect to do on the side of the road? So, everything I carry is in this little nylon zipper bag thing. Kind of looks like a makeup bag. I found them on Amazon. If you go on my Amazon store, you can actually buy them. They're from Ironland. I'm not endorsing them. I mean, they don't give me any money or anything. I just found it and it works. So, seems to be pretty durable. So, no complaints there. Yeah, and they seem to all be about the right size. I can shove all the essential tools in that I'm going to potentially use. Now, keep in mind, you're probably not going to tear your engine apart and replace a sticky valve or something on the side of the road. I'm sure someone somewhere has done it, but it's not something the average mechanic is going to do because you probably don't have the parts, you probably don't have the workspace, and really you wouldn't have the cleanliness of everything. So you have to keep in mind, what are you going to be able to fix on the side of the road? 9 times out of 10, it's just going to involve tightening up something that came loose. There may be some situation where you could pull something apart, replace a seal, put it back on, and that's fine. And keep that in mind when you're packing your toolkit. Now, there's a lot of companies out there that sell pre-made toolkits, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I always find there's too much of one thing and not enough of something else. So, this is what I've got developed over the past 25 years of riding that I have. So, let's take a look down at my workbench here, and I will show you what I got going on. So one of the first and foremost things I always have, and usually it's in my motorcycle jacket or something, is some form of a Leatherman. I have 2 of these. One of them is very thin, and it has a flip-out folding knife. And then these are they're kind of like Swiss Army knives, if you're familiar with that legend, plus the ability of pliers. So they fold out. It's got all the little tools down in here, most of which you will probably never need, but tools like a knife, a tiny little saw, a bottle opener, that's important, small little Phillips screwdriver, and most importantly, the pliers. These ones even have good like carbide wire cutters on them, so it's pretty nice. And then they fold up and they're relatively small. And again, this is no product brand there's no paid endorsements going on here. This is just what I own. Now, inside this nylon bag, here's everything that I have in here. We're just going to dump it out. First thing everyone should have in their toolbox. One of 2 things that everyone should have in their toolbox or their tool pouch or wherever you want to call it is zip ties. I am under the belief there isn't much you cannot fix on the side of the road without enough zip ties. These are the ones that are always in there. I usually stop at like Harbor Freight or wherever and buy one of those jumbo packs and throw those in the saddlebags too. I also put one in my wife's sissy bar bag too. You can give them away. They're cheap. I've reattached clutch levers with zip ties. I've done all kinds of crazy stuff. You'd be amazed what you can figure out to do with a bunch of zip ties. They're cheap. They're plentiful. You should definitely have them in your kit. Electrical tape is always another important one. Usually most of your electrical problems on the road are caused by vibration and something rubbed through some insulation or something, so it's nice to have something to tape it all back up with. Plus you could reattach light lens covers with these, you can seal stuff up, you can make new covers, you can tape your riding gear back together, whatever it may be. Electrical tape will do it. However, buy good electrical tape. Scotch, 3M, name brand like that. Don't buy the stuff from the discount store. It doesn't stick. It doesn't stretch. It's trash. Shame on the person that made that. Now, in here, I have a handful of wrenches, and these are all ones that I have used at some point or another. And there's really not a lot of them, because honestly, there's not a lot of nuts on the bike. You really just need to have a few with you. So, I have a 10mm for the front brake calipers on my Harley, a 5/16 and a 7/16 for a few rando fasteners, and I should have a 3/8 in here, though I don't know where it is. It must have got taken out for something. And then, of course, the infamous adjustable wrench. Get whichever one you can get with the biggest jaw you can find. If you can get one of these with a big enough jaw to take your axle nut loose, that'd be great. With some of the new bikes, the axle nuts are pretty big. It's not always plausible. Now, also in here, I have a Torx bit set. I I have an Allen wrench that actually goes to the handlebars, so that's a handy thing to have if I needed that for something. And then I have a bunch of other Torx bits here. I have a couple I have a T25, T27. There's a 3/16 Allen set here. This big sucker T55, I believe, does my fork clamps and my triple trees and a couple other things like that. Oh, and my shock mounts. And what you could do if you wanted is, as you're working on stuff, make a list of the tools you use if you're not really sure. If you got a Harley, you're definitely going to want a 1/2-inch, 1/4-inch drive wrench, or 1/4-inch drive socket, because that's going to be the size for the exhaust flanges on your exhaust, and they do tend to vibrate loose sometimes. I have a 1/4-inch drive extension, another 1/4-inch drive extension. Probably really don't need 2 of them in there. And then a few sockets, like for the brake bleeder. Trying to think where some of these other ones went. I don't know, but for whatever reason, I set them aside. There's a 1/4-inch there. There's a 12mm I have for some reason. Then I also got this T-handled 1/4-inch drive set. This thing is pretty cool. So I like this because you can reach in there. You can tighten and loosen with it. You can put it to the side like this and get more leverage. If you want, you can have a 1/4-inch to 3/8 drive adapter. Check that out. Then you could use your larger Allen socket, or your larger Torx bit sockets like this T27 here. And you can interchange that out to like this giant T55. Now, obviously, this isn't as much force as a 3/8 ratchet, but I would be willing to bet that on the side of the road, between this and linking a few wrenches together, you could figure out whatever it was you were going to fix on the side of the road. I also have an interchangeable screwdriver, and it's got all the different little bits in there, most of which you will probably never need, but it's nice to have. That way, if I have to do anything with my bike or one of my friends' bikes, we're good to go. It is one of the weird ratcheting ones. I didn't buy it because of that. It just happens to be one. This is in Milwaukee. You want to get name brand with these things. Don't buy the really cheap ones because the tips shear off. And that will only happen at the worst possible time and make you very angry. I promise you that. Yeah, other than that, it's just a few other sockets, and I happen to have a 1/4-inch ratchet in here. And that's really about it. All the Allen wrenches I have in here go to the Allen wrench screws that I've put on the bike here and there. All right, so I grabbed my 3/8 drive wrench. That way it's in here also. This one happens to be a ratcheting wrench. It doesn't have to be a ratcheting wrench. It's just what's there. I also have a 1/4-inch drive Allen 1/4-inch drive Allen socket, because I can put that on the T-handled wrench with the adapter. And this is the size that does your top clamps that hold your handlebars down, because I feel like that's something I might want to adjust or may need to be adjusted on the side of the road. Now, there's not much you're going to actually be able to fix on the side of the road. You may be able to get a sensor. You may be able to get this piece's part here or there, or a switch, and replace it. As an option, especially if you could find some dealership nearby that had it in stock. However, 9 times out of 10, I figure if the thing's going to break down, it's probably going to end up being towed home, especially with a modern fuel-injected bike. My plan for that has always been, I have AAA. And with AAA, the AAA plus whatever package, I don't know, I get like 4 free tows a year, and that covers my bike and my wife's bike. And I think I could actually make that cover somebody else's bike, just don't tell AAA. But the thought with that is I get 4 free tows a year up to 100 miles. And generally within 100 miles of where I'm at, there's probably going to be a Home Depot that rents Penske trucks or a U-Haul or something like that. And I can have the bike towed to there, and then I can rent a pickup truck and drive the bike home. It's not exciting, but it's a realistic solution. Knock on wood, that has never happened. So I've always been able to limp the bike home or band-aid it together on the side of the road. So the most important thing before you go for a ride, before you go on that trip, don't just jump on your bike and go. Spend an hour, give it a walk around. Put a wrench on some bolts. Make sure they're tight. Give everything a close visual look. Make sure it looks all right. Test out each brake lever. Test out your shifter. Does it seem loose? Does it seem sloppy? The preventative inspection will save you a lot of grief while out on the road. But that's all I have. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. That's all I got. See you later.